welcome everyone. Mark here at Blue Glow Electronics. It's Sunday, December 13th, 2020. Got a couple update videos for you today on some topics we've covered before and maybe a couple new topics. And as always, something new on the bench here. I'm breadboarding the front end of something I'm playing around with right now. Always something different going on here and having fun doing it. So let's dive on in. All right, you guys probably remember a month or so ago, I did a little segment in one of my Soapbox Sundays about Hayseed Hamfest. There was a picture I had found in one of the audio forums online where somebody had shown a picture of their gear they had dropped, and when they dropped it, the can cap from Hayseed Hamfest had cracked open and the cover had came off, and you could see inside of it some discrete component capacitors. And I thought, wow, you know, I feel a little cheated here because I thought they always wound their capacitors the way they used to years and years ago. And instead they don't. They use multi-section capacitors in their new modern ones, okay? But really what I was calling Hayseed out for was the fact that nowhere on their website did it say that they use discrete components and whatnot. So anyway, made the video, posted it, and it seemed to catch a lot of people's interest. At any rate, a day or so later, I got an email from Tom at Hayseed Hamfest, and he basically said, "Hey, Mark, I understand where you're coming from, but I've been catching a lot of flack, a lot of people reaching out to me saying, what the heck?" And he said, "I wish you could at least understand our point of view on this, you know." And he went into talking about, you know, why they believe the discrete component capacitor method is even more superior to the older ways of winding caps. And, you know, and I'll talk about that here in a minute. But, you know, what I said kind of back to him was, it's not about what you're doing. It's about the transparency of it and, you know, and sharing with your users, you know, exactly what you're doing. So just want to tell you guys, they have updated their website. If you read it now, brand new made-to-order multi-section capacitors made out of state-of-the-art discrete components. And there's a little asterisk, and down at the bottom it says something about they do not use Chinese-made components or whatnot. But they've also updated, if you'll notice here, they've updated their FAQ section. It says, "Does Hayseed Hamfest restuff old capacitors or wind new capacitors on old machinery?" Neither. Hayseed Hamfest uses all new materials and state-of-the-art discrete aluminum capacitors from top brands. The vast majority are either Nikon, United Chemicon. Certain values may be supplied by other high-quality manufacturers such as Panasonic, Illinois Capacitor, or Chemet. We do not use any generic discrete caps, nor do we restuff old can caps or make old-style can caps out of outdated equipment. All their capacitors are rated at 105 degrees Celsius and 20 plus or minus 20% for capacitance. All right, for all that, I just wanted to take a moment and say thank you to Tom and the gang over at Hayseed Hamfest. I probably swapped 20 emails with Tom since all this started, and he's been nothing but a gentleman and very transparent with me. And I believe they're running a you know, real class act over there. And we're going to get into it here in just a second. Tom's giving me some really good reasons why I think what they're actually doing is better than what I was perceiving. And so let's dive on in. All right, Tom had sent me a note with a lot of bullet points here on why he believes these discrete capacitors inside of his can is better than a single roll capacitor. And so I thought I would read them off to you and kind of give you some of my color commentary along the way. He starts out here with, "For decades, capacitor manufacturers have put almost all of their R&D into these discrete package caps. The R&D efforts for these single roll can caps probably died in the 1950s or 60s, okay? Since then, capacitor manufacturers have continued to evolve these discrete capacitors and make them smaller and smaller, make them more efficient, less ESR, able to handle higher temperatures, and all of this is because the research and development that's gone into them." I think that is the number one reason why this might be the way to go, and I think Tom's spot on with his statements there. All right, Tom then goes on to say they only use 105 degrees Celsius rated caps. They heat all their caps to that temperature twice before their testing phase. And he goes to say every single section of every cap is tested by a human being for capacitance, current leakage, ESR, and dielectric absorption. This is, of course, on top of the testing already done by the manufacturers. Said the cans themselves, the metal cans they use, provide an extra shield against any hum-inducing stray RF. He talks about inner electrode leakage is all but eliminated, and that is a real factor with, single roll capacitors. Then he talks about they can dial in almost all microfarad value at no additional cost. The same applies to special needs such as ripple current, etc. And I believe that they can pick whatever values they want. Now I do come back to this whole, the outside of the can may say 40 microfarad, but inside Tom's using a 47 microfarad. But in most, if all cases, and Tom talked about this in one of his emails to me, these were all plus minus 20% devices back in the day, and typically in what they're using these capacitors for are power supplies, just a little bit extra capacitance. Never hurt anyone might be the joke there. He talks about runs of one-offs can be fit into their regular production schedules with little or no delay. There again, you're not having to crank up machinery and make thousands of something. They can make one of something. In some cases, we've happily allowed customers to supply their own preferred discrete capacitors. That's pretty cool. I didn't know that. And perhaps of prime importance, we believe the discrete capacitors is more durable than the single roll. They have no empirical data to back this up, but it's just anecdotal evidence provided by end users and many years of making these things. And then this gives them the ability to make kits for common gear, which I've used many times. So I think all of these are some very valid points Tom bring up, and it's why I will keep buying capacitors from them. And I really appreciate Tom being transparent and sharing all this with us. All right, one last little thing Tom shared with me is that he's not alone in this, and it's not a new practice. Check this out. This is a 1950s can cap with the top removed. And while it uses single roll technology here, it's got two single rolls inside of one can. So the practice has been around something around 70 years now. And if you want to fast forward to some modern competitors today, here is a can cap that Tom and team cut open from F&T Cap, who makes the Altheny caps. If you could do a cross-section cut, guess what's on the inside? Two discrete component capacitors here. So not a new game in town. All right, with all this, I hope it shows you guys I'm capable of giving constructive criticism on one side, but on the other side, willing to eat my lumps and say, hey, maybe these guys are really doing a good thing here. And so I kind of went from giving them a hard time to almost made a sales video here for them. So with that, let's jump into the next topic. And thanks again, Tom and team. All right, a short little video someone posted the other day in one of my amp building groups on Facebook, but check this out. Thought you'd get a kick out of it. Yeah, I thought I'd just point out what really happened in that was this transformer's laminations broke down and the windings shorted, and so maybe this transformer wasn't quite up for the high voltage demands on it. You can see here it's pulling off to a pair of looks like 866 rectifier tubes here, mercury vapor rectifier tubes. And then these are, it looks like a pair of single-ended 833Cs, which would run some extremely high voltage, then feeding these single-ended output transformers. But at any rate, high voltage can be tricky. Trust me, I started out working on HF equipment and a lot of that stuff, HF amplifiers, whatnot. Some of the earliest stuff I even played with were things like Henry 2K amplifiers, old Heathkit amplifiers and whatnot. And, you're running anywhere 3,000-4,000 volts around inside of those things sometimes. So definitely some skills required to operate at those voltages. All right. Story here I'm going to title A Story of Getting Old, aka a funny domain name story. So, you may guys probably remember last week's Soapbox Sunday, I asked you a few questions, and one of them was, if post my retirement or whatever I started building amplifiers, preamps or whatnot and selling them online, should I use the Blue Glow name associated with that, or should I go out and get a completely different name for a product line that I might develop and just keep Blue Glow Electronics as kind of my hobby and YouTube name? And the results I got back in the comments were a resounding use Blue Glow, keep Blue Glow. We really like the Blue Glow name. It is your brand. And so, I started saying, they're right. I need to stick with this Blue Glow thing. And then as I read further in some of the comments, people were making recommendations like I should pick up names like Blue Glow Audio or Blue Glow Amplifiers. And I thought, you're right there too. Blue Glow Audio would be a perfect name for a series of products that I made, right? So what did I do? I went to GoDaddy and I typed in Blue Glow Audio, boom. And this is what I got. BlueGlowAudio.com is taken, but we might still be able to get it for you. So they offer a broker service here for $119.99 where they'll play middle person. They'll go find out who owns this domain name and they'll say, hey, someone else is interested in buying it. Would you be interested in selling it? And then they go back and forth as negotiator on the price in the middle. And then they typically get a commission out of the middle of that, okay? And I can tell you, this is serious money. The company I run in my day job, when I first joined, we did some rebranding efforts, and we did not own the .com name of our company. We were using some variation of that, and we wanted the simple .com name. That name is owned by a major corporation, and we've made and they're not using it today. It's not being used at all, but they own it, and we've made $1 million offer on it, and not through GoDaddy. And was not accepted. So they're looking for multiple seven figures, I'm assuming. Any rate, it's big business, and no, I'm not willing to spend $1 million on BlueGlowAudio.com. I thought maybe I'd spend $500 if somebody else had it, because I went to BlueGlowAudio.com and hit enter in my URL, and nothing comes up. There's no website. So I thought whoever owns this is not using it. So I thought maybe $500, maybe $1,000, I would end up owning it, right? So I added this to my cart, I clicked submit, I paid my $120, and I waited. Didn't hear anything the next day, didn't hear anything the day after. Finally, on about day 3, this is the email I got back from GoDaddy. We're issuing you a refund. This applies to the following order, and it talks about a refund for my domain broker service. And I'm thinking, why the heck are they refunding my money? It doesn't say anything about why they're refunding it. And in my mind, I knew if you submitted to buy something through their brokerage service and it doesn't work out, you still owe them the $119.99. So I'm thinking, why the heck are they refunding my money? So the following day, on day 4, this is the email I get. Hello, Mark Walker. You recently purchased the domain broker service for BlueGlowAudio.com. Our system shows you are already the current owner of this domain name. Your order has been refunded, So bottom line, I already own the domain name. Yes, this is what happens when you get old. You forget stuff, okay? I own a lot of domain names, and I've just picked them up over time. Things I thought were cool, I might use one day. If not, I thought maybe I would sell some. I've actually sold a few. The highest one I've sold, someone paid me $3,700 for it. So something I paid $6 for back in the day, and probably another $30 or $40 to maintain it over the years. So at any rate, there we go. I already own the domain name. I actually own quite a few Blue Glow names after I went back and looked. One of them I've got is blueglow.club, which I actually thought I might use, and blueglow.forum. I thought I might use those for some type of online forum at some point in time, but nonetheless, I need more time, and this is what happens when you get old. So, to the next topic. All right, just foreshadowing a little bit out into the future, nothing that's going to happen in the next year or two, probably more like 3 or 4 years out when I retire. But I've been putting a lot of cycles into thoughts on amp building classes, and kind of got this mindset of maybe a 3-day class, and this is where I wouldn't mind some of your feedback down below, just to keep these thoughts grinding here. But I'm thinking maybe day one would be kind of classroom instructional type thing here on site out back in our audio barn. And we'd just set up some, I'd have tables set up, and I'm in the middle of doing the remodel on the barn right now and making good headway, and I'm putting in some HVAC so that I've got some large space where I could hold these classes. But have tables set up there, and just do a classroom style on day one, and just do some tube basics, teach you everything you would need to know all the way up until kind of building an amplifier. And then day 2 and day 3, we would actually, go whip out the soldering irons and maybe some pre-made chassis, and you start bolting everything together. Then we'll solder the stuff up together, and at the end of the day, you would leave away with a nicely built amplifier that we did together. And I'd be here to help you through this or whatnot. So it's kind of what I've got thinking right now. 3 days would be perfect. Somebody, like, even if they were coming from out of state or something, they could come in on Thursday evening or something. Maybe we do this Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or something like that, or maybe Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Who knows? But just where my head's going right now. Building's coming along great here. Check out this picture. You can start to see the listening room up here in the top, and we'll be getting electrical, mechanical, HVAC in there in the next week or two, and then the drywall will go up, and then the real fun starts. Room treatment, all the stuff I want to do from an acoustical standpoint. But anyway, on to the next topic. Okay, keep in mind, I started out with making a post about an oscilloscope video on my Facebook channel. And really what I had in mind was how to use an oscilloscope to basically do some audio analysis, right? Is this amplifier performing well or not, okay? But what I've gotten from that is just an outpour of people wanting more info about using oscilloscopes to do things with relating to audio gear. And and it can range, the gamut can go from all the way to how do I even use an oscilloscope, to how should I go about picking out and buying an oscilloscope, to how do I go about practically using an oscilloscope, to safety. Hey, is it safe to do this? Do I need to use the ground clip? When is that not safe or whatnot? All the way then through, well, how do I use an oscilloscope to do some analysis of audio signals to determine the effectiveness or whatnot of an amplifier? So that's like a whole video series here, and I'm going to do what I can, and where I can, I'll point to other people's videos, but I thought I'd break it down into a couple videos. One would be, I'm going to skip the most basic how to use an oscilloscope, the time settings, the voltage settings, lots of other videos out there, and what I'll do is give people some links to those, okay? But then where people were asking me questions were, Mark, we see videos like that, but it doesn't have the context of how to use it inside of an amplifier. So what people are really asking for, I think, is the practical aspects of it. I've got this little lead in my hand. How do I connect it down inside the oscilloscope? What do I do with this little dangling ground clip lead? Things of that nature. So I thought maybe I'd make a video on practically using it on an amplifier. Then I'll go into a video on how to use it for this audio analysis, which is where I started. And then I thought post that I would just make a couple videos, a handful, maybe 5 or 6, simple little videos with different pieces of audio gear, tracing signals from beginning to end. Maybe I'll break 1 or 2 of them intentionally, and we can find where the signal stops or where the signal's being affected by something, and just kind of use it from a practical standpoint that way. So anyway, I've got them all in the works. I've been working on some PowerPoint around it, whatnot, in my spare time. Trust me, I'm still working on this 300B amp along with a half a dozen other projects, as well as the barn remodel I just showed you guys. So my hands are full right now, and it may just be Soapbox Sunday videos for a little while till I get some more of this other stuff materialized. But the good news is we're enjoying it, having fun, and we've got content in front of us here that we can keep making for you guys. So stay tuned, and Sorry for the 20-minute video. I thought it was only going to be 10 today, but that's par for the course here at Blue Glow Electronics. Everybody, have a great weekend, and we'll see you again soon.